unfortunately.
It was so baffling
to me because, again, I covered the NCAAs last week, and there was pro-LGBTQ protesters there, standing up for Leah Thomas. And I'm standing there talking to these college-age kids, and it's such a surreal moment when you have someone look at you in your face and go, yes, a woman can have a penis. Yes, men can get pregnant. And yes, men can have periods. And again, this is rhetoric that we've seen time and time again. This is nothing new. But actually hearing somebody say that to you, to your face, bold face, completely believing it, just shows me how far gone we've become, like, as a country, to where there's no basis in reality at all anymore.
This is why people talk about national divorce. Mm-hmm. It's why they talk about civil war. It's not so much about, look, I don't care. Those people can believe whatever they want. They can watch whatever movies they want to make and do that. And then what do we get? We get the Daily Wire making their own razors. We get the Daily Wire making their own movies. Mm-hmm. We are certainly interested in moving that direction as well with our own cultural content. We just need to stop trying to be a part of their club. That's one of the most frustrating things to me. Like, I don't care if these people walk around thinking that they're, clowns juggling bananas. Like, that's cool, dude. You do your thing, man. I'm going to be hanging out here with my friends, like having a beer and playing guitar. That's our thing. You do your thing. Yeah. But the problem is conservatives keep begging to be in their club, and they need to stop doing it. Republicans do it all the time. They freak out because right now GOP racist is trending on Twitter. It's like, so what? Who cares?
They're so weak and pathetic. There's so many spineless rhinos in our Congress right now, in our just political space as a whole. They're so spineless. They're so pathetic. And the reason why conservatism as a whole has completely deteriorated is because people like Matt Schlapp, who's supposed to be the creator of the Conservative Political Action Committee, is coming forward and saying, oh, Leah Thomas's journey, we really need to have empathy about it because, her story is important. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Conservatism is pathetic in the modern day.
Well, it is. I agree with that, but I also agree with what Matt was saying. If these women at the NCAA don't care to speak up, if none of their family members will speak up, then they deserve whatever they're experiencing.
Yeah, but see, that's not what Matt was saying. Matt was saying that he thinks that we should have empathy towards Leah Thomas. I completely disagree. Again, I'm not a female athlete. I'm not the one that should be protesting. You and I were actually talking about this before the start of the show. Why did these females even compete with Thomas? Why didn't
because
these
they
females...
like it,
Sav. It's because you have to be at least this tall to play professional sports. So
this really, this is one of the most frustrating things to me. Because the NCAA women have publicly come out and agreed with Leah Thomas and supported her. And the only person who didn't, the only person so far to come out complaining is the person who got bumped by one space. 16th
so did your teammate,
place.
But that got deleted.
What teammate?
So that is who I interviewed last week. That's the news we broke. Tucker Carlson played it on his show. Her teammate, Rose Pouch, she spoke out on behalf of her, said her teammate was crying.
Oh, right, but she wasn't in the finals either, right?
No, she was in the finals. She got first place in the 200-yard free. She spoke out against Leah Thomas because she watched her teammate cry as Thomas took that final spot. Again, I can't pronounce her name correctly.
Rekha Georgi?
Yes, that's her name. She was a fifth-year
I can respect
senior.
Someone coming out and actually speaking up.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying, Tim. So it's like, it's not that all of these athletes aren't speaking out. It's that they're being completely silenced. Now, we made national news with that. It's completely been deleted off of Twitter. You can't find it anywhere. All of the national news articles that were linked to her interview, completely gone now.
Well, the point in this that I want to bring up is, first of all, Matt Schlapp saying that we need to have empathy on this person's journey, who, by the way, has a clear and present bulge, actually bigger than mine. So I'm taking some notes here. But I will say, that's completely crap. And conservatism definitely is in the position to where people are fighting to conserve things that do not exist and have not existed for some time, including this entire country for at least 100 years, as they've been we've been developing into some crazy globalist empire. But with the specific thing with the swimmers, I don't think it's enough to just say like it's their fault, because we've gotten used to everybody in every field, in every department and institution. We already assume they have to be activists because everybody seems to be one. Journalists are activists, professors are activists. And now we're saying, look, there's people who just want to swim. They do not want to get involved in political things. In fact, one of the greatest things I have found and has kept me sane has been lifting weights, getting back in shape. And I go onto Twitter and I put like one thing up, like, yeah, hey, I did my 5x5 at 225 on chest. I'm excited to hit a goal. And there's all these bros that get in there that are like, oh man, what's your squat? What's your this? What's your that? And I'm like, dude, you're complicating something. I picked up heavy things. I put them back down. Yep. I know there's a science to this. I know people get really involved. I'm not doing that.
Where are these girls' dads?
But there's a point to be said to this, though.
Good question, Tim.
But there's a point to be said.
That's why I don't care.
No, but here's the point. What you're asking for, and I'm saying this genuinely, some people, I know people that are into swimming, for instance, and they just do it to clear their mind. They do it to get their mind off the world and focus on the goal.
I don't
Tim,
know. What's your point?
My point is, as I'm saying, people always try to complicate things. A lot of these swimmers are put in a tough position. That their scholarships might ride on this. They might come from impoverished families.
Too bad.
Listen, and maybe just maybe when you're focused on breaking generational like wealth gaps, and you go to a nice school and you're trying to swim and get your family out of that poverty, that idea of getting out of poverty is more important to you than a social issue like transgenders, and you don't know what to do. So what's happening in our world is no matter who's out there, we are demanding of them to be political activists. What should be happening is this discussion should be happening at a senior level with administrators and with individuals who are put in those political positions to try to debate whether something is ethical. But the swimmers themselves, I don't blame them for not knowing what to do, because like that girl who was scared, these are genuine people who are going, even if I speak out, will it change anything? And they can't afford what you and me do.
No, we're stopping right there, bro. I am sick and tired of hearing about spineless people who don't stand up for themselves, who think they're entitled to everything. That's one of the big issues I have with the left. They come out and they say, we should get free college, we should get free that. I shouldn't have to do anything for it. These swimmers won't come out. Their dads won't come out. Their moms won't come out. Now, there was one woman who spoke anonymously, and then you come here and you say, they don't have all of this. Bro, not only did I come from the gutter, but I've consistently stood up for my values. I've had people on this show who have been censored over and over again. And I know there are hard limitations because there are certain things that's difficult for either you or I to talk about on our shows. But I quit a corporate gig. I tried to break a contract worth millions of dollars because they wanted me to do woke BS. Now, for me, I'm not saying anybody has to have my back on that. I'm saying I take care of myself. I don't think I'm entitled to or owed anything. So when I'm at a company and they say, you want the money we're paying you? We have you under contract. You're going to do woke stuff. I said, no, I won't. And they said, well, you better. And I said, I guess I'll just sit here or you can break my contract.
But
they
you're
said
a political commentator, though.
I was not a political commentator when I worked for ABC.
To some extent, though, but you're in the visuals. You're into somewhat of entertainment. Like a lot of these people are just athletes, and they're like, dude, I didn't ask for this. Like, I don't want this.
And that's what a lot of the athletes were expressing too, Elijah.
I said, we got to give them some time
to figure this out. They don't want to be
out.
Political activists. They want to be able to just focus on their sport. I completely agree with what you're saying, Tim, but I also think that this is your passion. This is your career, right? Swimming is those girls' passion. They don't want to be political activists. The big reason why their parents don't want to speak out for them is because the daughters ask the parents, hey, you know what? Just don't do it. I don't want to face the repercussion. I don't want the NCAA coming after me. The NCAA told these athletes, don't mention Leah Thomas's name in the locker room. Do not speak to any media. So the fact that I even got that interview, that's why it went so viral, because the NCAA has been silencing these women. I understand what you're saying, Tim, because I'm the exact same way. I'm hardline and I say, stand up for your rights, stand up for your country, or you will lose everything. But at the same time, we do have to remember we're in this spot because not everybody is a political activist, unfortunately.
That I'm not going to stand up for people who haven't asked for it.
Yeah.
Like, it is the most insane thing to me that you have people being like, we must defend these young women who are actively, publicly supporting Leah Thomas. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
I don't disagree with
publicly
you.
Supporting Leah Thomas,
Tim,
and you're acting like they're mad when they're not.
No, because that's not even the point. I'm saying what we tend to be in politics, and I'm not saying you, but just in general, is reactionary, where we expect that people move on our time. We consume stories by the daily. There are people that I've met an Uber driver that didn't even know there was a war in Ukraine, okay? Like, he didn't even know that was happening. People in the world are sometimes so focused on a goal that they even disconnect. That's even required of them to get off social media, etc., and they don't know what's going on. There is a problem that we see. The problem is that the swimmers need to see how big of an issue this is of letting a man compete against women in a way that will always beat them, will out-qualify them, and would fundamentally change the country. I'm saying I don't believe all of them see that. Because I remember being around non-political people who are like, okay, this is weird, but I'm being told this is right. And especially if they don't have any moral absolution, or maybe they're not even that high IQ. I'm saying they might be saying, I don't know what to do. So before I'm judging them for not swimming, I'm saying I think a lot of them are weighing their options. And more importantly, like you said, how you had to turn down a contract. I think a lot of them will lose out on their opportunities, and I think this is where you start seeing
because not enough of them are willing to stand up.
But you see them getting birthed. Somebody is going to get red-pilled. Somebody might stand up, and it might set a reaction.
How long has this been? This has been going on for 14 years in the public spotlight. If we track the data going into the New York Times, 14 years. 14 years. Parents are not speaking up. They're not going to meetings. The fathers and the mothers are not showing up to meetings and saying we want rule changes. They don't care. Not only that, What I'm telling you, why I'm particularly frustrated with this, is that even Rekha Georgi, the one person who got bumped from the finals, in her complaint said, I fully stand with Leah Thomas. And, you know, she is no different from me or any other D1 swimmer who wakes up every day. And I said, then I am not going to do the work for you. And no one else should. If they have an issue with this, they need only politely say, they could wear a pink ribbon. They could wear a little ribbon that says, like, I am protesting this, but I'll keep going because I want my scholarships. But I am sick and tired of people who are aware of what's going on. And apparently, according to the mothers, they are, but they won't speak publicly, who are refusing to stand up and stand up for their rights. For whatever reason, they expect other people to do it for them. It's not going to happen.
Tim,
the left goes out and they throw bricks through windows and they burn down buildings and they've literally killed dozens of people in the George Floyd riots.
Yep.
Kamala Harris then helped bail these people out. 13 Joe Biden staffers donated to help bail these people out. And Republicans are like, but I'm going to get called a racist. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. If you are unwilling to stand up for yourself, for your children, if you are a father unwilling to stand up for your daughter and you think I'm going to come out and be like, I will stand up for you, I'm not going to do it. These are people
I think
are as
that
weak
this
as they
goes
come.
back to, okay, look at what we saw for the past 2 years with the COVID lockdowns, right? People's businesses getting shut down, all of us being forced to mask up, all of these things that we had to do because the government told us to. I've been saying this since 15 days to slow the spread was originally talked about. This will not end until the masses decide that it does. You are completely right in that, Tim. This does not end until the female athletes decide that enough is enough. They're going to stand up, they're going to push back, and they're going to put an end to it.
I don't think they care. I think you guys are putting this view on them.
They definitely care.
No.
I disagree.
No. I'll tell you this, though. No, this is genuinely true. And this is where I actually want to agree with you about the father thing. Yes, but it's deeper than that. My point is I'm not saying because they care that I'm fighting. And I know this is an unpopular statement, but number one, I don't expect women to be the fighters and the champions of social movements and of the country. I think they can. I think there's many women who've done many great things, but I understand I don't believe it's in their nature. I believe in traditional design. And I think a lot of these women tend to be more submissive. Not all women, especially modern feminist women, but I think that's the natural design. And I don't think, and I would blame their fathers more or their boyfriends or husbands more than them. I would do that. But on the side note, it's not important. Yeah.
Majority of millennial was it 70% of millennial Democrats are female. Feminism, I think you have it backwards. Women are the ones who are consistently over the past 20 years demanding social change.
Yeah, but it's in one direction. So my point is, it's not in this direction.
And so why aren't these gentlemen doing the same thing?
This is my point. Is I'm saying that aside, because you'd have to ascribe to a traditional worldview or believe in God to really believe that, probably, or be very well versed in science. But I am going to say is, why I care about it is not because I'm not trying to get that 17th place person. I'm not petitioning so that she can get back into 16th. I don't care about this because of them. I care about this because of what it means for our country and for future generations if we accept as a whole. Even if that pool they all cared about, they don't care and whatever, they want to let it happen, okay, fine. So if there's a bunch of people in a house and they just want to create a meth lab and they're all cool with that, should I be cool with that? No. Should I fight against the idea of having major drug labs in houses across the country? Yes. Even if they are all for it and they're like, well, and the neighbors aren't mad about it, I'm like, dude, we're not going to have a country where you can just create meth labs and blow up houses. Sorry, not going to be okay with that.
Very different.
No, it's different. No, it's different. When you see something that's toxic, that's bad. That's a social issue. I'm using a physical issue that people could understand to a social issue. When you're allowing something to go out and not just to happen, because remember, it's not just the people in the pool. The swimmers are even the least important to me on this. You have ESPN, et cetera, interviewing. This is being reaffirmed nationally. And as you know on this show right now, if I were to say what I was really feeling about this issue, this live stream would get pulled. Meaning big tech is in on this as well, saying this is normal and normal people are not. And that's why I'm saying this is BS. And I'm going to fight the issue even if they won't, because I don't accept this for the country.
I don't disagree with you on that. I don't disagree with you on that. My frustration is with people who don't stand up for themselves. I'm saying
I get pissed too.
If we're talking specifically about the greater issue, by all means, everybody who wants to complain about it has a right to complain about it.
Yeah.
When we're specifically talking about Rekha Georgi as the one person to publicly complain because she's the one person who got bumped, I'm like, dude, you had every opportunity to speak up. You didn't, and you're only complaining now because you're the one person who got bumped. 18th place isn't complaining because she wouldn't have made it anyway, and 16th place isn't complaining because she did make it. I just don't see any principle among those people. And we already have people mentioning this, and I've answered this several times, who are saying, if I spoke up for my children, I would lose my job. Well, then I understand what you find to be more important. Security for your family is more important than what your children are going through with society and with culture.
So what
I said this before, and I'll say it again. If you're more concerned about, keeping your job and keeping your income, at least you'll know your kids had a good meal, when in 20 years they're in the gulag or whatever.
Sometimes speaking up is actually dangerous. The founding fathers had to keep it under wraps. If they'd spoke up against George, they would have been executed on the block.
Oh, I completely agree. The parents could have come together on one night, all sat down and said, do we all agree we have a problem here? Okay,
Yes.
Now that we've all come together, we can unanimously issue a statement under our names because we all know we have each other's backs.
Leah Thomas technically isn't doing anything wrong. She's following the rules. So changing the rules is where the key lies. How do you best change the rules?
And if I could jump in with you guys on this, because I do want to make this point, because I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, but this is when censorship comes into play. So we all know that many people on the right wing, many of these independent journalists are being censored. And why is that? It's because we are going out on the ground and we're elevating those unheard voices. So right now you guys are saying you're not hearing from any of these athletes. And why is that? It's because ESPN is platforming Leah Thomas. It's because all of the mainstream is platforming Leah Thomas as a hero. They're not platforming the adults and the parents that are speaking out. They're not platforming the athletes that are speaking out. But they are, Tim, because I interviewed them last week, and guess what? All of those interviews are gone. Did you see any of my work from last week?
It got banned,
why
right?
did the mother who came out and gave why did she come out anonymously to the New York Post?
Again, there's also parents that came out. They were not anonymous. They came out last week. They had their names. They had their picture up on the article. But those stories are not elevated and they're not promoted. So I understand what you're saying, but understand too that big tech is allowed to, regulate what the narrative is. So there are people that are speaking out. There are athletes that are speaking out, but their footage is being deleted. They are being censored and they are being silenced because they are not the popular, narrative that the big tech wants to push.
The swimmers could have, chosen to protest the swim.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I completely agree with you on that. But I'm saying that there are voices that are being silenced.
Have publicly supported Leah Thomas, and we're talking in circles now. So I think it's just, I get it. If there are people in this country who have an issue with what's happening in these schools, then I agree. If we're talking specifically about the NCAA right now, my problem is I am sick and tired of the past 10 years where there are people who know about the problems who refuse to speak up. I think it was Clifton Duncan said the same thing. He says he said something to the effect of, "I am more. What do you say? I have more disdain for those who know what's happening and refuse to speak than those who are ignorantly participating in it." Something to that effect. And that's where I've been at for some time.
Right.
The people who say to me, "I know what they're doing to my children in school, that they're grooming their kids." And that they're making up lies about, the Don't Say Gay bill. Man, if you come to me and tell me you know what these teachers are doing to your kids and that you'd rather have your job than save your kids from that, I think you've got a very serious problem with what's going to happen to your children. That's mind-blowing to me.
But here's where I have to think and not just react. I agree. And we're sitting in a room of people who have chosen, like you said, to not allow what could happen bad to us or our friends or our family, inhibit us from pursuing what we believe God has called us to, or the universe, or whatever you ascribe to. My point is that I am saddened that in every culture there are warriors and there are people who fight. And in the age of information and intellectual property, a lot of the fighting happens in the intellectual centers. It's like back to Rome or to Greece. It's the battle of the wits. And of course, there still is real war, and there are people end up, deleting themselves with 2 shots to the back of the head. Things still happen. There's still violence. But overall, the fight is happening on the public square. And so a lot of different souls that would basically not make it on traditional battlefield are somehow successful. It basically values intellect rather than just physical might now. I am saying that I understand that wars have always been fought. And right now this war is being fought. And I don't mind. You and I take hits all the time. Everyone at this table does. It is so sad to me now that everybody is forced to join the war. Now, again, to concede to your point on this, there are times when the village gets raided, when the kingdom is under siege, and every able-bodied man, look at Ukraine, they're not letting the young men leave, where it's like there is a time to fight. But I'm saying, my point is that sometimes I think we're rushing people because we're more alarmist and see what's going on.
It's been 14 years.
Yes, but more people wake up. You would think after COVID that everybody would have woken up to what's going on, but they still didn't because the sleep is so deep.
What's the Second Amendment say?
It's the right to a well-armed militia, basically.
The security of a free state, the right to keep and bear arms, etc. A well-regulated militia being necessary for a free state, and a militia was just the people who were armed who would come together when needed. We didn't have police forces back in the day. We actually had local militia. That's how things were dealt with. So if somebody stole, they'd round up all the people and be like, like arrest them and bring them to the magistrate or whatever. And the founding fathers understood everybody would have to fight to defend their land. What I see now is we are in we're now in year 14 of a major culture war, and it's going back to economic collapse, the rise of critical race theory, Occupy Wall Street, Gamergate, all of these things. And you have people who are like, I've been watching what's been happening since Donald Trump. Social issues were a major component of why many millennials voted for Donald Trump. And still they say, as bad as it has gotten and as crazy as things have gotten, I still refuse to fight, but I'll be upset about it, I guess. Now, I don't think anybody has to do anything. I mean, look, if you want something, you have to fight for it. If you don't fight for it, I assume you don't want something. I'm not going to complain that these female swimmers don't care enough to speak out, but that's reality.
Are you saying nobody can avoid the war? I'm asking if that's where you're saying
No.
we're
What
at.
I'm saying is, to put it simply, if you place a person between two roads, and one is just keep swimming and keep your head down, and one is speak up and stand up for your rights, they're all choosing the road they think is better for them. That means they don't care enough about Leah Thomas to actually say anything. I'm sure they're upset about it because you can be mad about your choices and choose the lesser of two evils or something slightly worse. If people really cared about this, if parents really cared about their children, if you really cared about your kids and you knew teachers were grooming your kids, you would be homeless to save your child from that, right? Let me ask you both. Which would you prefer? Your child spends 8 hours a day being groomed by cult members and you make $50,000, $60,000 a year, or you're homeless and your kids are safe with you?
So whether we'd have our kids hang out with Pete Buttigieg's husband or we'd be homeless.
Okay, I'm talking about what's going on in Florida.
Yeah, I mean,
these teachers.
The kids matter, but I will say onto that point real fast. This is where I think that we're getting confused on the argument, and it's not going in circles. Just like I watched the gay pride parade in Austin in that elementary school, I'm going, I don't blame the kids that are, I think they were like 8, 9 years old, 10 years old. I don't blame the kids for, anything about that. I would blame the teachers. And my fight would be with the teachers. I know this is unpopular, but I'm going to say this. I'm just pointing to that. I view people who are asleep, a lot of people who are asleep, with the same way that I view children, is that they are not aware of what's going on, and I don't assume they all know what's going on, so I keep accountable those that do. And if there are swimmers that are out there that fully are aware of what's going on, they know what they're doing is wrong, and they choose to do it, then yes, I would call them out, but we don't know.
And I'm asking you a specific question.
I'd rather be homeless.
You would rather be homeless, safe with your kids.
Yeah, because I'd figure out another way to make money.
Well, so the response we get every time I bring this up, and we have super chats right here saying this exact thing, is I can't speak up because I would lose my job, and my kids need to eat and things like that. In West Virginia, you think it's the second most Trump supporting state in the country. You'd think the schools are going to be Republican. They're not.
Yeah.
The school board members who were voted in are woke. There are kids in West Virginia schools who are being groomed and indoctrinated. And there are parents who say, I don't care enough to risk my security, and that includes my children's security. Now, I can fully understand. You prioritize your kid having a full belly over being away from groomers. I personally disagree. I don't have kids, so maybe I can't speak to it, and that's fine. But I typically ask most people, and they give me the same response. I would rather be homeless and unsure of how I'm going to eat and my kids than leave my children in the hands of a groomer for 8 hours every day at these schools. My question is then why so many parents do it, and I think it's because the parents, many of them don't know. And I'll totally contend to that, and we're fighting every day to inform them. But many of the parents do know and tell me, well, I don't want to lose my job. Okay, look, no disrespect. You've chosen it. We had Andrew Heaton on, and I was explaining. He's a middle of the road guy, and he says both sides. I take issue with.
He's a libertarian guy.
I think is he a libertarian?
Yeah, reason.
Yeah. I said the right makes their arguments based off of they present facts they can prove to you, and then from those facts will give you their opinion on why their policy ideas are correct. The left will lie to you about what the problem is because the ends justify the means to convince you to side with them. And his response was that I was describing the left as, bad or evil and the right as moral. And I said, no, I'm not. The left literally will tell you this by any means necessary. In their books, they write the strategy of keeping secrets. There's undercover video being exposed right now. Something from Accuracy in Media was going viral where teachers are saying, we're going to change the language, but keep CRT in schools. We can't let the parents know. This is exactly what they'll tell you they're doing. What I said to him was, if you think that I'm describing them as good or evil, it's because you view one side as good or evil, not because I've ascribed that to them. The right does this. They'll say, look at this fact. It's not from me. It's proof, right? Therefore, here's my argument on moral issues or whatever. The left will say, here's a manipulation to trick you into agreeing with me. We see it all the time in the press. These are tendencies, not absolutes. When it comes to somebody who says, I can't speak up because my kids or whatever, what they're really saying is deep down, they know their kid being in this position is very wrong and bad, but they prefer to keep their kid with the groomer than lose their job. Actions speak louder than words.
And if I could answer now too, I would have the same exact answer as Elijah to say, I would rather be homeless and take care of my child and protect my kids. But what you just laid out there, Tim, is exactly why our country is where it is today. Because if push comes to shove, and I think about this all the time with the Second Amendment, right? If push comes to shove, how many Americans do you think if the police were at their door right now and said, give us your guns or we will kill you, how many of them would just give up their guns willingly and give up their Second Amendment and rights? People do not understand that standing up for your rights means you are willing to die for your rights, and you need to be ready to die for your rights, for your freedoms every single day. People don't seem to understand that because we've been so coddled as a society, because we face no real challenges as in this country. And so people so willingly give away their rights and freedoms, which is why for the past year, we've watched people say, I don't want to get vaccinated, but I'm going to do it to keep my job because the government told me to do it. If the government tells me to take 4, 5, 6 boosters, I will do it because they told me to. People do not have the mentality that they need to fight for their rights and die for them, and they don't get it, which is why we're here.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.